I'm Dinah Manoff, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Anne.
Oh, Damien. Hello. I am in my childhood bedroom, one of my childhood bedrooms in this house in Columbia, Missouri. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Anne, and hello to you listeners. It is Damien. Welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Damien and Anne.
And I'm Damien, not in my childhood bedroom, and I only ever had one. I was the constant in my bedroom.
Did you get to live alone?
At a certain point I did, because I was the youngest. So at a certain point,
that's nice.
I shared a room with my brother Gabe for many years, and then at a certain point, he moved elsewhere to another bedroom of his own, and I got my own bedroom.
My siblings and I rotated through, so there was a teenage bedroom that you eventually got to once you got old enough, and the teenage bedroom was the cool dark bedroom. But we've been looking through a lot of photos while I was here in Missouri, and there's a ton of pictures that my parents took of me sleeping. Is that something that you? It's me asleep, but as a teenager, kind of half naked, sleeping with my mouth open. And I was I sleep the same way. This is weird. Finding pictures of yourself sleeping at different ages is a real particular thing.
We have a lot of photos. I used to fall asleep on the sofa all the time. So there's a lot of photos of me as a child asleep on the sofa. I think also it was a way to get attention where you would I would fake fall asleep, but then real fall asleep. And then my dad would have to carry me to my bed.
That is the best feeling. Okay,
yeah!
As a kid, you fall asleep, you could be in full clothes, you wake up in your pajamas, and you're how did you take off my shoes? And I had no memory of it.
I also can remember taking long car rides home, we would go to the Jersey Shore, and then it would be for a day trip or something, and falling asleep in the backseat of the car, or pretending to fall asleep in the backseat of the car.
The pretending to fall asleep is the best. That's how you get the best gossip. You get to hear everything that your parents are talking about when they think you're asleep. I realized I was doing it with my sister and my nephew. I was talking in the car as if he wasn't there. I was oh, this is how you find intel as a kid.
Yeah, it's and then it's the express pass to your bedroom because you're cool, I'm fake sleeping, bring me inside.
Right.
Who wants to be bothered?
Listeners, welcome. You know this show. It's You Might Know Her From. It's a podcast where we shoot the shit with each other, talk about the comings and goings of our life, and interview a different actress each episode. We are usually weekly, but this summer we took a little hiatus so that we can decompress and try to get back a little semblance of normalcy back into our lives. So we are dropping summer episodes for you, one each month. So this is one of those delicious summer eps.
And we have to just get to it this week because we have, it's an entree. We have an amazing interview this week. It is with none other than the iconic
redheaded legend,
textured voice icon, Dinah Manoff. She just wrote a book, a novel, The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold. And we were so lucky to score her while she was doing promo for the book. You need to get it. You're going to be into it. It's very us. It's very behind the scenes, sudsy, Hollywood intel. It's fictionalized, but, we did talk to Dinah about what she mined from her real life to bring this book to life. So we were just I don't even know. We were really stoked for this interview.
It was a huge deal. Also, she was just you'll hear it. I just feel sometimes you have a vibe with somebody, and Dinah was giving us the vibe that we wanted. She was somebody for us that was always top 5 of people that we wanted to land for this show. So please buckle up, dive in, get into it. It's Dinah Manoff.
You might know her from Grease,
Empty Nest,
Soap,
State of Grace,
Ordinary People,
Child's Play,
Leader of the Pack,
I Ought to Be in Pictures,
and her new novel, The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold.
We are just pleased as punch to be here with actress, singer, Tony winner, and newly published author, Dinah Manoff. Dinah, thank you so much for being on You Might Know Her From.
Wow, thank you for that lovely introduction, although I wouldn't qualify myself as a singer. And there are some singers who would also feel that way about me. But thank you.
No. In my book,
I'll
you're a
take
singer.
it.
So it's very exciting, Dinah. Your debut novel, The Real True Hollywood Story of Jackie Gold, just came out mere days ago. And it is a fictionalized showbiz story meets coming-of-age tale. Mm-hmm. It just came out this week, so we're really excited to have you here to talk about it. And without spoiling anything, your lead protagonist, Jackie Gold, is a Hollywood starlet. She's in a high-profile relationship who then ends up seriously injuring herself trying to escape paparazzi. And then it's sort of like this look back at her journey to becoming a big star and her showbiz roots and everything. So the first question for us is, you have retired from acting and been out of the industry for like over 10 years at this point. What made you sort of come out of retirement to write this specific book? And it's fiction. Like, what was the impetus for it?
Well, actually, the idea for the book came to me many years ago while I was still on Empty Nest, which was a series I did for many, many, many years. At that time, the paparazzi, this is pre-cell phones, pre-TMZ, the paparazzi were showing up at my door. And I was enraged by it. I felt like invaded. And I mean, they're crazy, those guys. They just like follow you everywhere. And Princess Diana had just been killed by the paparazzi following her into that tunnel, chasing her in a high speed. And I thought, God, what if that happened to a movie star? What if it happened to, like, at the time, like Demi Moore or someone like that? And it was like the impetus for writing came from rage. I was pissed off at the paparazzi. And so, at some point, that little seed was planted, and I began to write the novel some years after that.
So in the novel, Jackie's father works in Hollywood and her mother is sort of elusive. In real life, for those of you who don't know, your father was Arnold Manoff, a celebrated screenwriter. He was blacklisted, along with your mother, who's Oscar-winning actress turned director and documentarian Lee Grant. So, of course, we know this book is fiction, but can you talk about sort of what similarities, besides your time on Empty Nest and dealing with the tabloids, like what did you mine? Jackie grew up in Malibu, you grew up in Malibu. What were the similarities there?
Yeah, the Malibu portion for me is really close to home. When I lived in Malibu Colony, it was kind of, there were still a lot of these beach shacks, and it was like just actors hanging out and studio heads, and it was a really particular, special time. I loved writing the Malibu section because I really connected to my childhood there. But my mother and Jackie's mother couldn't be more different. That's another book to be written. I'm not saying there's not a book to write about growing up with my mother, although she wrote a lot of it already in her memoir. But Jackie's mother, I based on a relationship I knew about in Malibu Colony at the time. There was a waitress at the Colony coffee shop who married a very wealthy studio head who lived in the Colony, and it was big gossip during my childhood. And so I kind of mined that memory for that relationship.
Is your relationship with your mother something where, like, you gave her the book to read in advance, or not at all? That isn't, she also wrote, she wrote an autobiography. Is that your relationship, or that's sort of off limits?
Oh, it's not off limits at all. I like talking about my relationship with my mother. It's very interesting and very good now, although we had our days. And certainly when she wrote her memoir, which, by the way, is so good, and she wrote it in her 80s, all by hand on a yellow legal pad because she never learned to type. She was, I know, she was a child actress. She didn't really do school much. And so, this memoir poured out of her need to see how much she could remember of her life. And fortunately, she did send it to me and to my sister and a few others to make sure we were okay with certain sections of it, some of which we weren't. But she was very generous about letting us edit the stuff where we thought she might have rewritten history or where, it was particularly private information. As far as my giving her Jackie Gold to read, she had seen an early draft, 10 years ago when I first was sending it out. But this final draft, this publication, I just gave her the copy of because I didn't want her to read it until it was really, really, really done. I wanted her to see it in its best form. and she loves it. But she loves me, so who knows?
Well, we love it. I mean, I feel like it's totally our universe of like, it's a great coming of age story, but also it's like this sort of behind the curtain, which is like all of our interests are all showbiz, but like behind the scenes sort of intel, you know?
Well, thank you. That makes me feel really good. Thank you.
We highly recommend it. Also, just as like a parallel, I think if you liked Postcards from the Edge, you will love this book. You know, it is in that realm, and you know, we love Carrie Fisher and her writing as well, and so it was really a pleasure to sit down and read this. So please,
when Postcards from the Edge came out, I wrote a letter to Carrie Fisher, who had once played my mother's daughter in the movie Shampoo, and I said to her in this fan letter I wrote to her, "First you play my mother's daughter, now you write my life. What is it with you?" And I met her obviously many times over the years after that. She was a great broad.
Yes, exactly that. You won a Tony in 1980 for your performance as Libby Tucker in Neil Simon's play I Ought to Be in Pictures opposite Ron Liebman and former You Might Know Her From guest Joyce Van Patten. You were the lone holdover when they ended up making the transfer from stage to screen. And the movie, of course, starred Walter Matthau and Anne Margaret. Mm-hmm. You had said at the time of the release of the film that it's rare that Neil Simon would cast actors from his plays in the film adaptation. So can you talk a little bit about what your relationship was with Neil Simon prior to the play, and what the process was going from doing it on Broadway, being the toast of the town, and then moving into the film with Walter Matthau and Anne Margaret?
Neil was a very mercurial human being. And in my experience, I mean, he changed my life. You know, he cast me in this role. At the time, I was a very undisciplined actress. I was acting between parties, if you catch my drift. Yeah. And this role just happened to fit me like a glove. I mean, I almost couldn't not be this character at that time. And in the beginning, Tony Curtis played my father in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And that was a pretty well-documented disaster for many reasons. And Tony at the time was not in his best self. He was fired, and Ron Liebman replaced him. All through this, Neil and Herbert Ross, who was the director, they were very, very supportive of me, even though I was not the kind of worker that I wish I could go back and be today. I mean, I really think of myself then as quite the fuck up. You know, am I allowed to say that on this? I don't know.
Yeah, you
please.
Can say whatever you want.
Yeah. But I was really young. And they felt they could channel my talents and contain my lack of discipline, which they did. And they really taught me to show up and do 8 shows a week. They believed in me. Neil was very generous with me. He took me to my first Broadway musical. He picked me up in a white limousine and took me to see the revival of West Side Story. And I felt at the time like I really was like Cinderella, you know, and then he took me afterwards to the Russian tea room. I mean, he could not have been more generous with me. Now, you couldn't change a comma in Neil Simon's scripts. I mean, forget a word, not a comma. You know, the scripts are written, the plays are written so specifically, it would be like changing a piece of music in an orchestral piece. I mean, like changing a note. Do you know what I'm saying? The rhythm, the pacing, the inflection, all of it is purposeful with Neil. And so it was a great journey and a great learning experience for me. And Herbert Ross, who was the director of that play, really taught me how to become a crafted actress at that time. You know, he really taught me about specificity, about not just getting away on my, you know, attitude or talent or being funny, but to really mind the material. However, when the play became a movie, Herbert decided to make a serious movie out of a very funny light play. And my feeling about it is that it killed the material. Whereas in the play, you had this marvelous light Neil Simon comedy with moments of, pathos and drama and relationship stuff. The film then became pathos and drama and relationship stuff with moments of lightness, and it couldn't contain it. Even the way it was shot was dark.
Yeah. All of the scenes inside the house are quite dark. That's right.
Yeah. And so for me, as a young actress, I was terrified through the whole thing. Not because I knew any of this, because I didn't know that until I saw the movie, but because I felt the expectation on me to deliver another Tony Award-winning performance, which I did not do. I felt self-conscious. I was super insecure. And I had camera phobia, which I didn't know how to deal with. And so I couldn't find for myself the freedom that I had on stage in front of the camera in that film. And it's still, to this day, I can't watch it because I can only see what my battle was, and that I never took off the way I had on stage. That's leaving out a lot, giving you my experience.
Yeah, well, I will say, just having not seen the original production, but having seen the movie in preparation for the interview, I was so taken with it. So I know that your experience is clearly your experience, and not to take anything away from that.
Well, you're wrong.
We didn't see the play. I'm fucking wrong. I have terrible taste.
You're just wrong.
Look, Dinah, I really thought you popped off the screen. I texted Damien. I said, I can't wait for you to watch this. Again, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, we were also very taken by Walter Matthau, who I was like not ready to see him in that role. It was surprising. I thought you two were very good together. So whatever your experience was, I would say that this movie is something I've been recommending to people all week to go watch, because I was so moved by it. Yes, it is a little serious in parts, but the comedy still does shine through. The script still shines through.
Oh, well, thank you.
And Walter Matthau is hot, and I was like, this is unexpected. He looked so good.
What? I've never heard that in my life before.
I'm telling you, that beard and him, like, he was, I don't know what I expected, but I felt like he's always plays grumpy, and so he so quickly shakes that off because of because of Libby, that I was like, oh, he's like soft, and his beard, he looks rugged. Well,
now I know what kind of men you like, I know where to find you. Hey, you know what, though? Having actually, I had 4 different fathers. I had Tony to begin with, which was such a different spin on Herbert. By the way, he was brilliant in the role. Impossible to work with, but brilliant. And then Dick Latessa was the understudy. And he was a marvelous actor. And he had a very different spin. Ron Liebman, oh my God. Ron Liebman milked every scene I remember once being on stage, and I was doing my very serious monologue about why boys didn't, why I was so uncomfortable with boys. And the audience was laughing. They had never laughed in that section before. And I had a sense that something might be going on behind me. And I turn around and Ron is mugging like this like Marx Brothers expression, behind me in reaction to what I'm saying and taking the scene from me. So anyway, it depends what father you get.
Yes.
Ron was also brilliant, but different again.
Was Walter Matthau generous at all to you as a young actor? Was that a difficult working relationship?
He was not somebody I felt I could get close to, and he was not a person to bring your insecurities to. But he was great to act with, right?
You all have some really dynamic scenes together. Again, I really was moved by the whole piece. So wish I could have seen the original production based on how you're talking about it.
Yeah, the original production was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the same year that you won the Tony for the Broadway production, Dinah, you also starred as Karen in Ordinary People, which of course is Mary Tyler Moore, Timothy Hutton, Donald Sutherland, and was directed by Robert Redford. Did that year feel like a shift in your career with the Tony and also Ordinary People, which was this huge like Oscar film?
I should have seen it as a shift in my career. But at the time, I was so focused on boys and parties and, what was the next thing that I was going to do that day, that I didn't really have an overall career sense. And that's true of me always. I've never had an overall, how to shape a career kind of thing. Looking back, I think, oh my God, those years were really good. I was pretty hot then. But, even when I did Grease, I had no idea that movie was going to be a success. And in fact, when I did Ordinary People and they screened it, I looked at it and I went, well, nobody's going to see this. This is depressing, And so, what do I know? I couldn't see ahead. I mean, Grease is still, if you would have told me that I would still be receiving fan mail and interviews on this movie that was like a lark in the summer, I would have said, no way. It's too camp. It's too, it's too light, And then these girls show up on Halloween. They're all dressed as pink ladies, and they serenade me at my door.
Okay, that's very
it's
sweet.
so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dinah, one of your most memorable roles, which you mentioned previously, was Carol Weston on the NBC sitcom and Golden Girls spinoff Empty Nest, opposite Richard Mulligan and Christy McNichol. So Carol started the series as like the neurotic comic foil to Christy's Barbara, but like after cast shakeups, the final season ends up with you raising your kid as a single mother. So with 7 seasons of a hit show under your belt, how instrumental were you in helping craft Carol's arc and like where she went from the beginning to the end?
Not at all. When they'd see me heading for the writer's room, they would pull the blinds. They let me direct finally in the 4th year because I had so much to say about things. I had a lot of opinions. And they started letting me direct, which really saved my last 3 years on the show because I was going out of my mind. It is not a collaborative journey to be on it, at least to be on those sitcoms.
Yeah.
Because in the land of Whit Thomas Harris, which were the producer-writer partners on our show, and Golden Girls, and Soap, which I was also on, the writers are king. Not the director, not the actors. It's the writer's realm. And any change that I felt necessary would be a battle. And there were times when I went to bat for that character, particularly after the first group of writers were replaced. That happens in a long-running show. I mean, you've seen it a million times on probably your favorite shows where you say, why is the tone different now in season 4 or 5? What's that shift that's happened? And when that happens and you're an actor, you feel like your character's been betrayed. You're like, my character would never say that or do that, wait, whoa. So while I had a lot of battles in that area, I would not say that I won any of them. And that mostly what I learned was to adapt to the material in the most creative way I could, which is a great lesson for any actor. And as an acting teacher, which I am, it's a lesson that I teach my students, that no matter what is thrown at you, you have to find the most creative way and use your talent in a way that justifies a situation, even if you think it stinks.
If you had it to do over again, would you do all 7 seasons?
Yes. Because it paid for a lot.
The sitcom money is no joke, it seems.
Because I was able to quit show business and move to Bainbridge Island.
Love it. And that's That's the real.
That's right.
Yeah, you live in Washington State in this like beautiful, beautiful island. I mean, it's kind of wonderful.
Yes, I love it here. We moved here 15 years ago. We had 3 little boys. Our twins were, 2, and our oldest was 5 at the time. And we had been living in a great neighborhood in Pacific Palisades in LA. And it looked like a dead end to us. I was back out auditioning, and, my husband was in a career shift, and we looked at this teeny tiny postage stamp yard that we were lucky to have there. And we thought, we don't want to do this. The traffic's getting worse. None of the kids in Pacific Palisades were babysitting even, much less working jobs. It was all entitled. And we thought, well, what would it be like if we left? My God, who leaves,
I love it.
And we've never looked back. We love it here. We visit LA. We have our tribe there.
And your mom is in New York, yeah? So you come back to New York.
I was just there last week. She's great. She's 95. I mean, come on.
Hell yeah.
She looks fucking fabulous. You cannot. You should have her on the show. She's amazing. You would love her.
We would love to. We interviewed Joyce Van Patten, and she was like,
I just spoke to this morning, by the way.
Oh, she's one of our faves.
Mine too.
She's tremendous. And she was saying, I was just at Lee Grant's house. She always has the best parties.
Yeah.
She throws the best dinners. I was like, oh, this is phenomenal.
Guys, Mishpusa, I mean, come on. You know my whole family now. This is so great. Yeah, I was speaking to Joyce this morning.
And she has a movie at the Tribeca Festival this
Where
week.
she's the lead.
Oh, good. Yeah, she's played my mother 3 times now, I think.
We're going to get there. But we have to dive into something that is, of course, a movie that's so important to us. It's Grease. We have to open it up, okay?
So I brought this for you just so that you can remember.
Oh, my God.
Okay. It's emblazoned in my memory. You look stunning. So Damien and I, this is a film that's very important to both of us. We actually rewatched it. It was the first thing we did after quarantine when we were finally able to see each other inside. We were like, what indie film do we want to watch? Do we want to watch like this French film that we've never seen? No, we watched Grease, which we've seen like 78 times. So that's what we did. So you famously play, for any of you Luddites out there, Marty Maraschino, the fashionable sex siren of the Pink Ladies. We have a lot of questions, so bear with us. Okay, first of all, you've said that you were not stressed about going out for Grease because you were already recurring on soap. But can you tell us, what was that audition process like, and what did you sing?
I don't think I sang at all because they had cut Freddie, My Love from the movie.
You knew that going in?
Well, I found out, I mean, I was, God, so weird. I was just thinking about that yesterday. Like, I wish I'd gotten to sing Freddie, My Love,
Yes.
I could have killed that song.
Yes.
No, they cut Freddie, My Love. So there was no singing audition. I originally auditioned for Frenchie. And then they had me audition for Marty. And I based Marty on Marilyn Monroe, but I based Marty on being a girl who was trying to copy Marilyn Monroe, right? So that everything was, what she thought was, sexy, using her lips a lot. They had us do a dancing audition. I don't know how I got the part after that, but apparently they were just fine with me wiggling my hips and shimmying my shoulders, which is what I did to get through that dance audition. Become my signature move, actually.
So if you didn't have a singing audition, did you end up singing all of the vocals for the soundtrack, or did you just sing your line and your solo parts and then just lip sync to studio singers or whatever?
No, we sang all our parts.
You recorded all of your vocals and everything.
We recorded all our vocals. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't have a singing audition. Maybe I did. Maybe I just I'll ask Barry Pearl. Barry Pearl is the keeper of all the memories.
Oh,
he played Duty in the movie. And Barry's like our fearless leader. Anything that has to do with us as a group, if it's autograph signings or, Grease memorabilia, anything, every anniversary, oh my God, Barry's like, it's been 42 years and 6 minutes since we first auditioned for Grease. It's been I mean, he just keeps track of everything. So he'll know if we had a singing audition. And he'll know if we were paid for it, too, because he knows everything. Every residual, everything.
Okay. We're obsessed with Pat Birch. So you said, like you said, you weren't really a dancer, but they've put you behind Jamie Donnelly in the dance numbers.
She's a good dancer, yeah.
Can you tell us what was the most Pat Birch thing that Pat Birch ever said to you?
Pat Birch was so much fun and so creative and so hot. I mean, she was just like this little fireball on the set. You know, Randall Kleiser, our director, was very laid back and handsome. And Pat was just like, always like, you know, supercharged. She was all the energy on the set. She was so involved in the bigger picture with the dancers. And, you know, my feeling was I was just kind of like escorted into the choreography and then moved behind to where you just know I was there, but I wouldn't fuck anything up, which was smart.
Grease had a bunch of young, attractive actors on set for 2 months together, singing and sweating together in a lot of group scenes.
You want to know who was sleeping with who, don't you?
I just want to know if the energy on the set was horny. I mean, you can reveal, but like, was it like everyone sort of like, woo, you guys look hot?
Jeff Conaway was getting all the action.
I've heard Stockard say that in an interview, and I was like, I see it.
He was getting all the action.
Good for him.
Enough for all of us. I was not seeing anybody on set. I think everybody was horny, but we were in our 20s, so of course we were all horny. And we were sweating and dancing, but we weren't sleeping with each other. You know, we weren't like going back to the train and making out. But in retrospect, we should have, because it was
you got to get it in.
Great.
You got to get it in.
Yeah, we all should have done that. Yeah.
So while you were not dancing, but you had your Vince Fontaine scene with the camera, was that you doing the hand motion, or was that in the script? Did you insert you rubbing the lens?
That was me.
Very nice.
Because I was channeling my sexuality.
Beautiful.
Of all of the like veteran Hollywood stars that make cameos in the film, Eve Arden, Joan Blondell, Dodie Goodman, Sid Caesar, Frankie Avalon, who was like your favorite or the coolest or whatever of that grouping?
Oh, I was so impressed. I mean, because A Tree Grows in Brooklyn had been one of my favorite movies as a little girl, Joan Blondell was like, I love that you guys are nodding your heads. Oh my God, I love you.
Yeah.
Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So being on set with Joan Blondell was like, you know, and then Eve Arden, you know, I mean, every movie that my mother ever turned on, you know, after 10 o'clock at night that was black and white had Eve Arden in it.
Yeah, her career is so cool, and I didn't know about any of it until sort of after the fact. Like, she was Miss Lynch to me, and then it was like, oh, she was like,
she was incredible.
She was a song and dance woman of the day.
Yeah. So I don't know, you know, in retrospect, and I don't know if you feel this way about older people in your family, but there's so much now at my age that I wish I could go back and redo, like spending time with those actors in their dressing rooms and asking them questions, which I was too self-involved to even think of doing at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, what a missed opportunity. You know, and I feel that way about my grandparents. You know, like, I wish I'd asked, you know, how'd you get from Poland to, you know, to New York? What was that trip like, you know? So funny, isn't it?
I remember reading somewhere, Dinah, that the women in Beauty School Dropout were maybe a little stoned and sometimes forgot to lip sync along to the song. Do you have anything to say about that?
I wasn't stoned during I mean, I was stoned, you know, a lot in those days, but not during Beauty School Dropout. I will tell you that, boy, now I feel so left out if they were all getting high and didn't include me. But I know Stockard and I and Dee Dee weren't stoned, because I would have known if we were.
Yeah.
After the success of Grease, they went on to make Grease 2, but many of the folks are not in the second film. Did they ask you to appear in it? Did they try to get you to come back in and be in Grease 2?
No. Pat Birch's daughter, Allison, was in Grease 2, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was one of the pink ladies.
Yeah.
No, they didn't ask anybody but Dee Dee to do Grease 2.
Interesting.
And interestingly, apparently they're doing a prequel now to Grease. Over these many years, there have been so many rumors about Grease projects, I cannot tell you, and not once have I been involved in any of it. Dee Dee tried to get a bunch of stuff on and couldn't. You would think it would be such an easy sell, but
yeah.
No.
Will you come out of retirement if the paycheck is right for a Grease spin-off, sequel, prequel?
It would depend, I mean, it's too easy an answer to say yes. I mean, they asked me to audition for the Eve Arden part in Grease Live.
Goodbye.
Audition?
That is insulting.
Well, thank you. That's what I
fucking
thought,
rude.
and why I didn't fly down.
Oh,
that was our next question. So did you boycott and not watch Grease Live because you were like, fuck
That's
this?
not why I didn't watch Grease Live. but I didn't watch it.
Bless.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on, but staying in the vein of musicals, something I need to talk to you about, Dinah, is the show Leader of the Pack, the 1984 Broadway musical about the life of songwriter Ellie Greenwich.
Wow, you leave no stone unturned, do you?
I'm sorry, I have to say, this is a pre-Mamma Mia, pre-Jersey Boys jukebox musical, and the show was like a notorious Broadway flop that I had read about.
Yeah.
I had read about as a young theater nerd, and so when it was all coming back to me, this in preparation, can you talk about what attracted you to that show at that time, and if it holds a special place in your heart, being that it went on to sort of achieve this cult status or like legendary status?
Well, what attracted me to it was the music, of course. I mean, the music was amazing. It was amazing. And playing Ellie Greenwich, it was just, the whole thing seemed like it would be a lot more fun than it actually ended up being.
The music is
the veneer of a really good time. So the music was amazing, and I did do singing audition. I auditioned with the song Goody Goody. And Michael Peters, I wanted to work with Michael Peters. He had just done the Michael Jackson Beat It.
Mm-hmm.
And he was incredible and charismatic. And to play Ellie Greenwich, I mean, was like, who wouldn't want to do that? So it was very scary. Beats. What was it?
Ann Beats,
Ann Beats was the
former SNL writer.
Yeah, Ann Beats was the playwright, which one thought would make it great.
Yes. Okay, we missed that detail.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And what happened was that this incredibly successful off-Broadway show with these fabulous singers who were, doing this kind of raw version of the play, it didn't translate to a Broadway stage. It became glitzy, and the feeling didn't transmit, and Ann Beats and Michael Peters hated each other. I mean, hated each other. So here's some trivia. This is fun. So she got fired and was told never to come to the rehearsal studio again. And she showed up the next day with her assistant, and she laid down in front of the rehearsal door, so that we would all have to step over her.
Oh my God.
Okay,
so
that is badass.
That was before we even got to previews.
Oh my.
So if that gives you any indication of what it was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
The singers were amazing. I mean,
and Darlene Love was in it.
Fucking Love, and Patty Darcy, and Annie Golden. Jasmine Guy was a chorus person. I mean, these great Gina Taylor, these great voices. And the book was terrible. It was terrible. And they got a new writer on, really nice guy, I can't remember his name right now, also had a ton of credits. And I started going out finding comics to pay for jokes because I had nothing worth saying. And because I'm not a singer, I was just barely acting my way through my songs, right? I needed to be funny. It was crazy. But I have incredible relationships that came out of that production with Jasmine, my friend Dennis Bailey. Michael and I stayed very close up until he died of AIDS so unnecessarily. So I do look back at it with fond, funny memories, of, wow, what a shit show. But what a great shit show, what a great learning experience. And oh my God, I got just eviscerated in the movie. But,
it's a special place in theater history, though. Like, it has its own place, and I feel like that
it wasn't as bad as Carrie, which I happen to have seen.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, I know.
Very important. It's a very important piece.
I know. It wasn't as bad as Carrie.
Okay. Dinah, we've reached the part of the show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us.
I'm bad at this. Go ahead.
You can take as much time as you need. It's just rapid for us so we can get in all of our...
Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll get in all of our things without any segues. Okay. Dinah, you play police officer Denise Danielowitz in The Cover Girl and the Cop.
Dinah Manoff, this is your life. Yeah, so what?
Yeah, okay. So in this movie, you dress up as a man to sneak into a gym looking for evidence, and later on you dress up Julia Duffy as a man to go undercover in a bar full of toughs.
Yes.
Who do you think had the better drag, you or Julia Duffy?
Me. Go.
No question. No question. You're wearing like a pork pie hat and you put like a fake mustache on her face.
Me, him. Go.
Okay, Dinah, who stops you on the street most? Grease fans, Child's Play fans, or Empty Nest fans?
Oh, God. All of them. Go.
Okay. Dinah, we're both gay and we like to project gayness onto everything we watch. A few years back...
Me too.
Okay, great. Great. A few years back, we noticed that Alice Ghostly as shop teacher Mrs. Murdoch shows up dancing with the T-Birds in Greased Lightning. We have invented the backstory that Mrs. Murdoch was gay. Do you agree or disagree?
Agreed. Go.
Okay, Dinah, in the 90s, you turned your attention to directing and directed episodes of your own show Empty Nest, as well as Sister Sister, Touched by an Angel, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Sybil. Which of these shows had the most demanding stars?
Sybil. And Touched by an Angel.
Oh, no! Not Della Reese.
Tell me it was...
Oh.
No. You know what? Maybe she deserved it. Dinah, you are part of a Hollywood legacy. Who is your favorite showbiz legacy family besides yourself? The Barrymores, the Van Pattens, the Arquettes, the Baldwins, the Fondas, the Jacksons, the Fisher Reynolds, the Coppolas, the Garland Minnellis, the Houstons, the Smiths, the Carradines, the Redgraves, the Sheens, or the Cassidy Joneses?
Tie between Redgraves and Van Pattens.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Dinah, who was your favorite scene partner on Empty Nest? Richard Mulligan, Christy McNichol, David Leisure, Lisa Rifle, or Dreyfus the dog, who you frequently had to perform monologues opposite?
I had issues with Dreyfus. Oh, well, Chris, I loved working with Chris. And we're still really good friends. But I loved working with David and Richard, too. Yeah.
Dinah, as an established Tony-winning actor, were you nervous to sign on to Child's Play, a.k.a. a horror flick with a killer doll?
Yes. Yes, I was. Is this a rapid answer or a real answer?
Give us more. Your death scene in that movie, you get hit with a ball-peen hammer by Chucky the doll, and then you fly out the window.
So here's the thing. I had just gotten a movie called Bloodhounds of Broadway, which was a super prestigious arty film with like Madonna and Matt Dillon and Jennifer Grey and all these really cool stars. Paid nothing. So I auditioned for Child's Play, which paid a lot, but which I knew no one would ever go see. So I got Child's Play. Bloodhounds of Broadway, I don't even know if it went to cable. And Child's Play was the number one film in the country that year.
Those movies are great. The first one's very good.
Yeah. I get a lot of fans from Child Play. People come up to me at autograph shows with their Chucky dolls and make me sign them places.
Okay, Dinah, we asked this question of a lot of women on our show. If you fell down a well and you only had the cell phone numbers of the following people, who would you call? Pink Ladies edition. Stockard Channing, Olivia Newton-John, Dee Dee Conner, Jamie Donnelly.
Stockard. Of course. Wouldn't you?
Well,
I don't know any of them personally, so I can't tell who would pick up their phone, who's going to get me out of that well. Like, these are the thoughts I'm having.
Wait a second. I'm not saying she'd pick up the phone or get me out of the well. I'm just saying that's who I'd want to talk to if I was at the bottom of a well.
Okay.
She'd talk you down. She'd talk you down.
Well, she's so cool.
Okay, you accepted your 1980 Tony in a stunning tuxedo. You looked fabulous. Your mother says that you received a standing O that night when you entered Sardi's after your win. What were your highs and lows of Tony night?
You know, my date was Bruce Willis. At
I did not know that.
Yeah. Pre-fame. Pre his fame.
Was that a high or a low?
Oh, it was a high. Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
He was bartending in Hell's Kitchen at the time. And he was my date at the Tonys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he a gentleman?
Yes.
Was he a good date?
He was great.
Okay.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah. So what was your question? Now that I've given you a little...
Highs and lows. So Bruce Willis is the high of Tony night. Was there a low?
He was one of the highs of Tony.
Yeah,
we were very high on Tony night. Very. You know what? Truthfully, looking back at that night, it was so overwhelming to be given that much attention and praise that it felt almost like too much. Like, I didn't feel quite worthy of that, but it was also really amazing. And we had an amazing party after Sardi's where we just, danced all night. And, I feel very lucky that I had that in my life, at one time. But it felt like a lot. I felt like that at my baby shower, too. It's like, it was a lot.
While you were on the TV series Soap, you appeared on an all-star episode of Family Feud against the cast of Three's Company. The question is, were you creeped out when host Richard Dawson greeted you and said, "Give me a little kiss"?
He kissed every woman on the mouth.
The mouth?
Did he really?
Yes.
And then he literally said, "Give me a little kiss" to you. Like, what?
You went along with it.
Distressing.
It wasn't until he grabbed my breasts that I really took any notice.
Oh, no.
No, just kidding. I don't know. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember that. Did I win? Did we win? I don't know.
No, you didn't. Sadly, but you were the best player on Soap.
I was?
Everybody, you got 3 on the board. Nobody else got things on the board.
That makes sense because I'm good at those games. Yeah.
Okay, Dinah. Last question. This one's important to us. You starred opposite 2 of our favorites, one, the aforementioned Joyce Van Patten and Nell Carter in Made for Each Other, a TV movie which you wrote the story for. It's a wild ride of a buddy comedy caper about a jazz singer and a down-on-her-luck widow, and it featured some great Nell Carter concert scenes. Can you tell us how you got that idea, and how did you get Nell and Joyce Van Patten on board? And also, you sang a few bars. You sang a few bars with Nell Carter in the car. Like, how was that?
How much to tell?
Joyce Van Patten did tell us a little bit.
Oh, what did Joycey say? Tell me first.
I think my recollection is that she said that maybe you called a favor in for her to play your mother, and
that stuff. Oh, okay.
And that maybe that Nell was a little bit difficult.
Right.
Those are the things that she told us.
Exactly. So I was so glad that Joyce wanted to play my mother. We did have to go to the network with her and show that she, they're so dumb. I mean, the executives are so dumb because they see you in one thing and then they think that's who you are. So Joyce had to dress up like this society woman and show them, oh, I can look like a society woman. And then they said yes. Which of course, I'm like, they should be on their knees thanking God for Joyce Van Patten. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean,
yes.
It's just so dumb. I originally wrote a script for Jennifer Lewis and I to do as a sitcom. That's where that movie came from. I wrote a script called The Princess and the Diva. That's what it was. And I got Jennifer Lewis on, and we had it sold as a sitcom, and then there were some issues with agents and stuff, and it fell apart, and it went back on my shelf. So when I was on Empty Nest, and I knew that I was in a position to get projects made, I brought it into Don Enright and Les Alexander, who I had done another movie with, the aforementioned Cover Girl and the Cop, and said, do you want to turn this into something? And so we got a writer, and we made it into, what was it called? Made for Each Other. And Nell was who the network wanted. Nell was that was their choice. I actually was still fighting for Jennifer Lewis to come and play, but at the time Jennifer didn't have that career.
How are you connected to Jennifer Lewis?
I saw her play in New York at a one-woman show, and I went down on my knees to her. I had never seen anyone as talented in my life, and I crawled to her and begged her to be my friend and to work with me. That's how I...
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad she's getting her due, right now.
Oh my God, what a fucking talent she is. Yeah, so that's how.
Dinah Manoff, thank you so much for joining us on You Might Know Her From. I can't tell you, this is really a holy day for Damien and I.
Well, good.
I mean, I don't know where to begin. There were so many highlights including Dinah being asked to audition for the role of Miss Lynch, the role that eventually went to Anna Gasteyer. You're going to make
bullshit.
That we were offended. Absurd. Although I do wish that we were able to talk to her about Keke Palmer's performance of Freddie, My Love, which we both had in our notes and then had to, move on once she said she didn't watch it. But bullshit.
Also, Dinah Manoff taking Bruce Willis as her Tony date, incredible. Also, I realized in hindsight, she was saying that he was bartending in Hell's Kitchen. He was bartending at Studio 54. I forgot that we hadn't even talked about that. I was like, she said Hell's Kitchen, but I was like, oh, right. He was a bartender at Studio 54. That was like one of his early gigs. She said he was great. I do remember hearing that like his whole thing is like, you can't make eye contact with Bruce Willis on set. So that was probably pre that when he was just like hot to trot. He was incredibly hot in the 80s.
Also talking to her about Leader of the Pack. Hello. I've been obsessed with this fucking musical since I was in high school when I would read like musicals.net and also like was obsessed with Not Since Carrie, which was like a book about musical flops. Since we interviewed Dinah, I actually bought the vinyl. There was a recording of the original cast and I bought the vinyl of it on eBay, and so I've been listening to it. It is so good. Dinah, I love Dinah's singing voice. Also, Darlene Love and Annie Golden are on it, and Jasmine Guy, who's like highly featured on the recording. It was all of my teenage dreams sort of coming at once, like Grease, Leader of the Pack, Empty Nest. Like it was a lot.
Let's be honest, Joyce Van Patten continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. Her connection to Lee Grant and Dinah Manoff, of course, Talia Balsam, the threads, Eileen Davidson, like we are just branching out thanks to Joyce Van Patten.
Mandy Ingber.
Oh my God, the Joyce connections run so deep. She is the circle of life here at You Might Know Her From. So please make sure you go back and check out the You Might Know Her From with Joyce, where she talks about her relationship with Lee Grant. We loved Dinah. It was such a thrill. She said mushbuka to us also, which just warmed my heart. So we hope you enjoyed the interview. We will be here next month dropping an episode that is just golden as well for you. Another real biggie for us. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you're subscribed. You will have that new You Might Know Her From pop up on your phone, your desktop, wherever you listen. We will be dropping a surprise episode for you next month, and we will be returning weekly starting in the fall.
Every episode now we are linking the current guest, the one on the show, that would be Dinah Manoff, to the future guest, which would be August's episode. And can you tell the listeners how we're getting from Dinah Manoff to next week's mystery guest? Give them that blind item, baby.
Why, Damien? I'd love to. This is the Ted Casablanca inside all of us. Here's a new challenge that we've set for ourselves this summer. We are going to do our connections moving forward using no men, not even Jerry Orbach. You know what I mean? He's one of the good ones, but there will be no men moving forward in our guest connection blind items. So here we go. Connecting Dinah Manoff, this month's guest, to next month's guest. Dinah was in I Ought to Be in Pictures with Anne Margaret, who was, of course, in the movie Bye Bye Birdie with Maureen Stapleton, God love her, who was in Cocoon with God love this legend Gwen Verdon, who was nominated for a Tony in 1975 for Chicago, the same year that Kelly Bishop won her Tony for a chorus line. Kelly Bishop was, you'll remember, in Dirty Dancing with the great Cynthia Rhodes, who was in Flashdance with Jennifer Beals, who was in the L Word and L Word Gen Q with next month's guest.
Folks, thanks so much for checking in with us in July. We hope that you are staying safe and healthy. We hope that you're getting vaccinated if you are able to, and we hope to see you here next month. Please stay subscribed, plugged in. Make sure you leave us a little written review if you haven't already done so. It's the best thing you can do for this podcast so that we can keep on going. And make sure you're following us on social media so you know when we are back in August, so you know when we are debuting season 4. You can find me at Damian Bellino on all of the things, and you can find my little string bean cohort over here at Rodeman. And how do you spell that?
That's Rodemanne. You Might Know Her From is produced by us. That's us, Ian Rodeman and Damian Bellino. And we want to thank our excellent consultants at Grumpy Entertainment, Jason Jude Hill and Danielle Sears. An extra special love and heartfelt thanks to our beautiful Daniel Sears, who is the heartbeat of this podcast. He is the one that puts everything together, and we are so grateful for him. Thank you so much, Daniel.
We also want to thank Gang. Gang provides all of the music that you hear in each and every episode of You Might Know Her From. You can download and stream Gang's music wherever you listen to your tunes and bops.
Also, go check out the show notes. There's that great clip from Leader of the Pack with Dinah Manoff, Jasmine Guy, and Darlene Love. What are you doing with your time? Go look at the show notes.
Woo, boy.
Cynthia Rhodes, we gotta get her. I really love Cynthia Rhodes. She's incredible.
Her role in Flashdance is so very sad. She's like really,
that movie is so much darker than when we finally watched it, I was like, oh, I had never seen it. It was a blind spot. This movie is dark.
Yeah, I don't think I picked up on any of those nuances as a kid that I was watching those movies about a stripper. Also, Mr. Body, Lee
Ving? Is that his name?
Yeah, his name is Lee Ving. Mr. Body is
That's like a drag queen name.
Yeah.
Is that Lee Ving? That's
Lee Ving. Maybe but he's like...
Lee Ving gay? Lee Ving must have been gay.
He might be gay. I've done research on him every once in a while, and because there's like not that many cast members in Clue, so I was always obsessed with him. But Lee Ving plays Cynthia Rhodes, like abusive. He's like the pimp.
Okay. If anyone out there has dirt on Lee Ving, please DM us. It's very important. We talk about very few men here, but he is one of the ones we're interested in. If you're in Clue, you're interesting to me.
Absolutely. That's an Easter egg.